Going. Let me just do one last thing here. You know, technical things here before we start rolling. Thanks for joining me in this live stream. I've got a story to tell you today, and I hope that stays there. I think it's going to work just fine. And I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll enjoy it because I enjoyed witnessing it. Let's see. There we go. Maybe something like that. I enjoyed witnessing it. So this past week, I should have done all this before, but there we go. So this past week, I attended a music festival, right? Come on, give me a break. I will get my homework done before I go live next time, I promise. There we go. I'm going to leave it at that. This past week, I attended a music festival. And at this festival, there were all different genders, the different genders, all different races, ages. It was a music festival, probably different musical tastes, probably different socioeconomic status. I'm sure there were different political perspectives. What else? Let me talk about some other difference. Did I say ages? There were babies. Some of them even had the little headphones on. It was a family event it was a family affair for some of them, this music festival, this multi-day music festival, and I attended one day of this festival. There was a lot of diversity, and guess what? Everyone was getting along just fine. Absolutely just fine. Having a good time. People were enjoying the music. And it dawned on me. Something dawned on me. It was very profound. And I realized that we get along just fine. Humanity gets along just fine without them messing with us. And you know who they are or them are. Without them introducing ideas that pit black against white, male against female, rich against poor, young against old. We get along just fine without the mainstream media and politicians telling us, oh, hey, that person's against you, or that person's against you, or they want to take your stuff, or they're going to do this to you. Without them planting those seeds in our consciousness, so to speak, and making us fear one another, we get along just fine. It was very profound at this festival, and I was like, wow, human beings can get along just fine without the powers that be, and you know who they are, interfering with us. It was such a profound moment that I was realizing, because they've been going hard in the paint the last 4 years or so, you know, really hard. And that tells me they're leading up to something. There's some type of a crescendo they're wanting. They're really fritzing with the consciousness of us in a high degree to keep us agitated and keep us tense and keep us anxious. And this is why I don't watch the mainstream media. I don't listen to politicians. I find they have nothing to offer me. And I knew this 15, 20 years ago when I tuned them all out. Of course, you know, they captured my attention in 2020 as well, when they were fear mongering to a high degree and making everyone do things they wouldn't normally have done under normal circumstances. But what dawned on me was they are going hard in the paint. And by the way, if I sniffly or stuffy, it's because I'm detoxing and have a little bit of a cold symptoms coming on. So if I'm sound a little like that, that's why. But they have gone so hard on us with the media and the politicians for the last 3 or 4 years that it was very profound. And let me just touch on that for a moment. We all know, and if you don't know, I'm going to remind you, because it's important for us to remind one another. We know that the media is owned by a handful of corporations, and the politicians work for and do exactly what corporations and billionaire philanthropists and special interests and What's the third one? What's the third? Money lenders and bankers. They do what those people want them to do. They don't necessarily do what's in the best interest of boots on the ground people at the. Yes, BlackRock, 100%. Thank you very much. We know that the politicians work for those people. Most people, I don't know. Some people know it. I get a little frustrated when people listen to politicians, and yes, they are to blame, 100%. Yeah, I get a little frustrated when people listen to politicians and the mainstream media and don't realize that those people are completely in opposition of humanity, right? The Thrive movies, Thrive 1 and 2 are a perfect example. He shares the pyramid. I forget that gentleman's name at the moment. It might come to me. He shares the pyramid, the top-down power structure that how they run the world. Verse-based stream. I've found all night. Thank you. Really? How long you been searching? That's scary. That I'm the first base stream. You know what? I wanna like Trump in 2024, but I also am somewhat questioning him because of what he did, Operation Warp Speed, and his, taking $1 million from Pfizer. Are you pro-life or an abortion abolitionist? Honestly, let me be honest with you. I have never given that topic too much thought, to be honest. I've probably leaned towards pro-life, to be honest. But I've never had any strong, and sometimes I hate to say this, but I've never had a strong pull either way, and let the cards fall where they may. But that's me. But that's where I'm at. But I get frustrated with people that still are believing politicians, are believing mainstream media, knowing that they're just being used and abused by corporations and billionaire philanthropists. Pro-life, we need more babies. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. Like I said, I lean pro-life, but I've never really dug into it. And again, I'm somewhat ashamed to say that I don't have a strong stance on that. So I'm on the path. But at this festival, I saw all walks of life and all different types of people, and they were just getting along just fine. And until the media and politicians, and of course their masters, drop an idea into the pool and polarize people and antagonize them. It's the ants in the jar scenario, right? The black ants and the red ants. One of my favorite analogies. Till they start putting an idea in the jar and then shake the jar up, and then everyone starts fighting with one another. It's so frustrating. And then people's lives, their lives start to suck, and they could even get worse than that too. And those people agitated. And I think the reason they agitated is because they wouldn't have anything to do if we were all getting along, right? They make so much money off of us when we're, fighting with one another. It's interesting to look up the differences between pro-life and abolitionists. Yeah, I've never done that, to be quite honest. I'll do that. What do you need babies? Okay, you're talking to that other person. But anyway, yeah, so I just want to share that with you. I found it to be very profound that there was this, everyone was getting along just fine. And it was a, to be honest, it touched me. The moment touched me. The scenario and the situation touched me. And, I was just like happy to see everyone getting along and having a good time, enjoying themselves without this, BS happening in the consciousness of people. So I just wanted to share that with you because I found it to be very profound, and also, remind people that, hey, these powers that run our world, that have our consciousness, and I think their little scam is breaking down. Quite frankly, I think people are waking up to the fact that, oh, we know who causes the problems in the world: media and politicians, with their agitation of us and shaking that jar, so to speak. People are waking up. I don't know if enough people are waking up to actually tilt to the side of like, okay, we're going to be okay, and pull out of it. Because I'll tell you, I think about WW2 and WW1, how there was mass manipulation going on at those particular times. And again, being used, and bankers playing both sides against the middle, and many people losing their lives in those situations. And it's sad think that people were manipulated and swayed by the media. And I just hope that that doesn't happen again in the near future, because we don't need that to happen anymore. In the information age, I always tell people, like, if people don't know what's going on in the information age, they don't want to know what's going on. And if people trust their government, they don't know history, because governments are notorious. That's all they do is mislead and lie and distract the populace, and they do it through the media, and they do it through, fancy speeches. And it sucks that humanity has to go through this and constantly be manipulated and their chain being yanked around. But I guess enough people haven't put two and two together yet. I follow someone on Instagram called Laura Matsu. Her and her husband, they have a super awesome, thank you for the 100. I appreciate it. They have a super awesome podcast, and the thumbs up, I appreciate that too. They have a super awesome podcast called like Cosmic Consciousness. Again, their handle on Instagram is Laura Matsu. I believe it's Matsue. And her husband, I don't know. They're in this realm of shadow work and, collective consciousness. Super awesome individuals from what I can put together. And they talk about this idea that humanity is at a point here where there's a lot of potential goodness and potential for awakening and seeing past the lies and deception that we've been living in for decades, maybe centuries, maybe millennia. And if we don't get it now, we may go back into a dark night of the soul, a dark ages, so to speak, and we'll maybe have another opportunity. Who knows how much longer in the future? And that's why I switched my whole content and started speaking up about this. I don't want humanity to be tricked and fooled again into another 100 years or 1,000 years of BS. And also the real reality is this, what it appears. Mark Moss talks about this convergence of technology, digital like IDs and digital tracking, and also social. I think it's social. There's three things that are converging that generally don't converge or that don't happen at the same time. And I think the last one is social and cultural changes that are happening. And we're at a very critical point where we could kind of go either way. And he talks about this idea that if we don't fix it now and actually escape from the matrix, so to speak, and escape from their grasp and turn off the television and stop listening to them, they could have us locked down and enslaved for the foreseeable future. He calls it the battle for the fate of humanity. And I agree 100% with that. China's already doing it. So they're surveilling people like crazy. They know if you say something bad on social media, you don't get a little check mark or a green pellet on your phone, and you can't do certain things. They want to bring that to the US, except when they bring it to the US, they want to go big. You know how the US likes to go big and be the best they can be. And so I look around and I'm like, I don't know if people fully understand the situation that we're in. Thoughts on the CCP? I don't have a lot of thoughts on the CCP. I don't know a lot about the CCP other than the surveillance, social credit scores, of course, how they treat their people. I do know a little bit about how Korea interfaces with them. And I know that, North Korea. I've watched some interviews and watched some videos about North Korea. That looks like a total hellhole over there. And how the fact that the China just kind of turns a blind eye and or allows it to happen. And I think there's some shady things going on in China, but you know what? There's some shady things going on in the US, right? Quite frankly. So I don't know a whole bunch on CCP, but that's what I do know. But I do firmly believe that we are at this critical point that if we can get people to come online and wake up to the lies and deception that have been propagated for a long time in the world, it's going to be better off. Now, I'll also say this. Because of 2020, I started to do a serious walk with Christianity and a serious walk with Christ. And I also see parallels happening, and maybe you see this too if you're a Christian, that are like, oh shit, okay, this appears to be biblical. I'm somewhat of a newbie in the Christianity movement, but I look around and I'm like, okay, there appears to be some biblical things going on, wars and rumors of wars. What are some of the other ones? You will be deceived by their sorcery / pharmakia. There's a lot of them. Christ is king. Amen to that. There's a lot of things going on, and that's what drove me to Christianity and started to get back involved. I had been involved a little bit as a kid, but I was like, oh boy, I'm getting dude, I went running back there so fast because what it was for me is I saw evil in the world. I saw pure evil. Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. I saw pure evil in the world and I didn't necessarily see God per se, but because of this mirror effect and this, like, if there's that much evil in the world, then I know God has to be in the world and Christ has to be in the world. So I was like, I see the evil. It was easier for me to see it. I think a lot of people saw it over the last 3-4 years. And I was like, oh shit. And that turned me to Christ. And I was like, okay, I'm definitely not playing that game anymore. And now the more I walk away from that, the clearer it is. Right. I mean, maybe you think it's clear too. And maybe I'm sure people have seen it. I'm sometimes slow on the uptake, to be quite honest. I'm sure people have seen it for a long time. Do not call WhatsApp traders or send any crypto. I'm not sure what that means. But I'm sure people have seen it for a long time, longer than I have. You know, I was always sketched of the GOV and the media for like 15, 20 years. But when I saw them go hard in the paint the last few years, I was like, oh shit, like you guys went straight evil, pure evil. It is making a comeback. I see that. I'm a person that's part of that comeback. I see it is, and that's probably because of what's happening in the world. That's what drove me back. I was looking around going, man, this is evil with a capital E. And I do think it's making a comeback for sure. I don't know. There's a lot of Christian there is definitely the Holy Spirit and something moving on the planet right now. And it is wild to watch. It's wild to experience. It's wild to feel. Yeah, you too. I can imagine. I just think the world went too crazy, and they're like, people are like, dude, I just barely picked up a King James version, large letter, so I can read it. Large print, red letter study Bible. I think it's the Thomas Nelson. I've been reading that thing. I love that thing so much. All my other Bibles were kind of tiny. And so I'm going to be digging into that. Let me share also this guy with you here. This is a kid. He is a fitness influencer, and you might like him. His name is Alex. I forget his last name. His YouTube channel, the Christianity YouTube channel where he talks about things, is called The Lion's Den, and his first name's Alex. He basically is talking Christianity talk. Let them go crazy. But you already stopped the evil. I saw the movie. You fell in love with the Fifth Element chick. I'm not sure what that means. Fifth Element, that old school movie. That was a cool movie. But yeah, this guy named Alex in the Lion's Den, and he's basically preaching. So he made a big following in his fitness influencer, right? And then he started this channel called Lion's Den, and I've been watching a lot of his stuff, and people are preaching the word. Heck, I even opened up some of my live streams with a prayer and a Bible verse. You know, at this point in the world, I'm going to bring all that, because I want all that protection, and I want my mind to be aligned with, Christ and moving in that direction. I don't want anything to do with what's happening and unfolding in this world. Thank you. Yeah, the bald head thing. I get it. You should check out Andrew Wilson. I will check that out. I write these down because sometimes these comments they don't always go away after I do end the stream, but sometimes they do. But I learned my lesson. I lost a resource from someone a while ago, and so I will check out Andrew Wilson. Thanks for the heads up. By the way, if you guys haven't picked up the resource that I put together called the Great Awakening Guide, you can pick it up at greatawakeningguide.com. His channel is The Crucible. Okay, I'll check that out. I'll check it out. But if you like resources, and since you're sharing some resources with me, I will share this with you. The Great Awakening Guide is basically all of the movies and documentaries, or a lot of them, pretty much all of them that I'm aware of, documentaries, videos about what's happening in the world and different things that are going on. And you can pick it up at greatawakeningguide.com. It's totally free. It's a downloadable PDF. This is version number 3. And that was my way of sharing knowledge and information. Thanks for the thumbs up, by the way. I appreciate you. Because what was happening on my social media at G Mark Phillips, if you want to go check out some of the things I'm sharing on Instagram, what was happening is people were asking, like, what can we do? What resources do you have? Because everyone's on a continuum. I always look at life as a continuum, and I think, okay, everyone's on a continuum, a different place, and there's always something that someone further down the path can share with someone that's not as far down the path. And that this sharing of knowledge and information, that's what's I think facilitating this mass awakening. Sorry, I'm a mama. I got to go to bed. God bless you. Hey, thank you. God bless you too. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you. But the sharing of knowledge and information is what facilitates the mass awakening that is happening now, right? Knowledge is power. And when you know better, you're going to do better. One of the things I love sharing, and I love reminding people about, hey, look into who the pharmaceutical industry really is. Look at their track record. Look at the fines the Department of Justice has levied against them over the last 2 or 3 decades. They're in trouble all the time. They're in trouble all the time. And then also, know your politicians and see when they've been lying to you. And my whole thing is this: falsus unus, falsus optimus. If one thing's a lie, it's all a lie. And I've been operating like that, and it is like ding, 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 ding. You hit the mark every time. I sometimes feel like I should go to Vegas, when I'm like, okay, once you tune into the Holy Spirit, and once you know what's up and you get that gift from God, it's like you can't lose. Granted, I'm not going to go gamble, but you know who's deceiving you. Am I right? Good night. Thank you. I appreciate you. Yes. Trump 2024, or someone who has a pure heart. So I want the best person to win. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah. So once you know what's up and once you know how they operate, then you can really be discerned. You can be discerning about what's happening. But what I noticed, to circle back with what I was saying, is that many people are just now waking up, or maybe not as far in the journey. I learned from people that are further along than I, that know more than I, that have been studying this longer than I, that have been doing a deeper dive longer than I. In fact, I have an interesting interview up on my channel here with Brandon Kroll, who's super knowledgeable about Christianity, the occult, and the political sphere, Hollywood, all that stuff. I mean, he teaches me so much. I've got another interview coming up with him in the near future, so be looking out for that. And we're all in this continuum, helping people learn and understand and share knowledge and information. And I'll tell you, I think what's happening in the world right now is people's consciousness is very open, because the house of cards is falling all around us. Washington, the lies and deception are being exposed. The media is being exposed. People are turning off the Disney Channel. They're turning off mainstream media. They don't trust mainstream media. They don't trust the so-called elites. I do not call them that. I just call them people that, want to control other people. They don't trust them. And so people are looking and open to new ideas and information. And so if this one, thank you. If this is now, people are primed. They can see the total breakdown of the GOV, and they are primed for new information. And so this is a really opportune time for people to share knowledge and information. And unfortunately, there is still a lot of, kind of animosity and tension and, finger pointing. And I'm just as guilty as the next person. I have to sometimes, go to the mountain first and say, hey, help me speak in a way that doesn't offend, that doesn't alienate, and gets the message across in the best possible way, so that I can help people, right? I don't want to antagonize people, although sometimes that happens, and that's not my intention, but sometimes that happens. But I think people are super ready for knowledge and information right now, and it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be alive, to be quite honest. So, like I said, greatawakeningguide.com. You can also follow me anywhere on social media at G Mark Phillips, everywhere on social media there. I share different things in different places. I'll I'll probably wrap it up here. I just wanted to share that story with you. You know, when they are not messing with us, we get along just fine, right? When they're not introducing ideas or pitting us against one another or shaking that jar, we get along just fine. And let me also end with this. It's not just here in the US, it's global, worldwide. And I think many people are also waking up to the fact that the people in other countries, they're not our enemies, right? They don't want to they may not want to do to us the things that the mainstream media and the politicians say they want to do. I think the politicians are, again, they don't work for us. They work for the corporations and the military industrial complex. I'm on the website. Thanks for the stream. God bless, Mark. Thank you. I appreciate you, Sean. Thank you very much. Thanks for hanging out. You know, I think people are also waking up to it. It's not just in the United States that people are starting to wake up to how they pit us against one another. It's also nationally. And as I, in an effort to educate myself, jump into, you know, what really went down in Iraq, what really went down in Libya with Muammar Gaddafi, and under Hillary Clinton, under Secretary of State, what really went down in 2014 with Ukraine. I'm going to be doing a deep dive into Yemen. You know, we facilitated the carpet bombing of Yemen, and you go to Yemen and it looks just like Gaza, complete carpet bombing. And that was with the teaming up with Saudi and in the United States. That's another shit show. There are many places around the world that we just bomb and kill people, and I'm not down with it at all. And so I think people are waking up to that fact quite a bit in the world. And again, I'm one of them. I didn't know this when 9/you-know-what went down back in the early 2000s. And when we went into Iraq, I didn't know, I wasn't awake to the degree that I am now, right? I still have more awakening to do, but I didn't know better. I was like, oh yeah, those are our enemies. I bought it, you know, it's like, and so I can see how people can buy the BS. And then as a person who sees through the BS now, I feel compelled to share, you know, to the world. Thank you. Just talk to my fellow human being and say, hey, you know, you might want to take another look at these people and see what they're up to, because they're not your friends, right? They're not work for you. I always tell people, when people ask me like, why don't I trust the government, or why don't I listen to them? I'm like, they don't work for me. Dude, if until I give Trump $1 million or anyone $1 million, they're not going to work for me. They work for whoever gives them money. Money and finances, unfortunately, run this world. And so they work for the money and finances. And that's what people have to do, is unplug from that beast system and kind of get straight and straighten themselves out. Because, and the more you can insulate yourself from that system, because it is going to be coming down. The dollar, I don't even know how the dollar's still alive right now, to be quite honest. Because as far as I can see, the only thing keeping it alive is the fact that the Fed is printing money. And then the only thing keeping the dollar as the dominant currency in the world is the United States Armed Forces. Like, you will use this dollar, or we'll do you like we did Saddam, or we'll do you like we did Gaddafi. So it's only a matter of time before people are like, hey, we're not going to use your dollar anymore, and it's going to crash hard. I don't know what's going to happen then. But it's probably not going to be a pleasant experience, that's for sure. And that's just a factor of, you know, the Fed's been kicking the can down the road for decades, you know, never solving the systemic problems of the financial system, never, you know, addressing the issue, just creating the bubble bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think when this bubble bursts, clearly they're not going to be able to contain it. And by the way, if you haven't checked out the Great Taking documentary by David Rogers Webb, that might be something you want to take a look at, because what they are planning to do, let's hope this doesn't happen, but what they are planning to do is sweep all of the financial assets, all the, you know, game piece off all the pieces off the playing board, so to speak. That means anything that has debt to it, homes, cars, all assets, potentially, that stocks and bonds. That's what they're planning to do. They've adjusted the Uniform Commercial Code in all 50 states. They're not playing. Like, these guys, we know they're monomaniacal, and they have a lot of resources at their disposal, and it could get real rough. And hopefully people higher up the chain that will still be wiped out. I mean, still very powerful, influential people, but people higher up the chain, they're the ones that have the power and influence to undo what those creepy people have done in the world. And so that great sweep doesn't happen. And I always tell people who kind of question, like, oh, that can't happen. I'm like, no, it's already happened twice in my lifetime, not to the degree, but the same type of thing happened. It just happened to where people's personal assets were just fine. But what happened in early 2000s, what was it? Definitely 2008 when the bigger crash happened. Remember what happened is the federal government, and the federal government and we, the people, we took debt out they took debt out on our name to bail out those financial institutions. So that's already, quote unquote, our money or our debt they used. And it also happened in the 2000.com. Anytime the financial industry goes bust with their behavior, the federal government bails them out because, again, the federal government works for the financial industry. So they do write a debt note in the people's name and say, hey, you're going to bail out our friends and the colleagues in the financial industry. And we're like, well, we can't do anything about it. So freaking go for it. But they're going to do that. They want to do that same thing. Again, let's hope and pray that doesn't happen. They want to do that same thing when the big crash comes, but this time they'll sweep the assets from the game board. It's all set up, ready to roll. And I hope that people get it fixed, because that'll be an end game, to be quite honest. And as David Rogers Webb talks about, it'll be an end game not only for humanity, but also for the so-called elites. The world will be completely, it'll trash the system. So check it out at the Great Taking documentary on YouTube. It's like an hour and 11 minutes long. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for the thumbs up. I appreciate you. I try to go live every day, so I hope to see you in the future. And until next time, I wish you all the best health, wealth, and success. Thanks so much. Have an awesome day.